there, squad. Thanks for dropping by. Today's video, we're going to be looking at some of the Pokemon that we're going to be seeing with the next season coming up. Looking at what they have to offer and ways to counter that, as well as some of the G-Max moves that we're going to be seeing and what that brings to the table and ways to counter that. So, real quickly, if you like this video, don't be afraid to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if it's helping you out. Also, you can follow me on Twitch. I'm streaming almost every day. That link will be below, as well as our Discord channel and also Twitter. So, keep up to date if you'd like. Alright, so let's look at this real quickly. Venusaur. One of my favorite Pokemon, if you can't tell. Scary. Very scary. Can be quite difficult, actually. So, if you don't know, he's got, his main threat is Sleep Powder. A base accuracy of 75% that can be boosted with Wide Lens, another 10%, so 85% boost. And if somehow, for whatever reason, they're running Gravity, that gives it a guarantee. And make it worse, we got Chlorophyll. That's going to double his speed. He's got a base speed of 80. That means his base speed is going to go up to 160 after the sun is set. So if you don't know, Chlorophyll requires the sun to be set, but as soon as that's set, doubles his speed, 160. Now, you're not going to see Ninjask, but he is the fastest Pokemon in the game. So his base speed is 160. Venusaur ties that. Some Pokemon you might see, Excelgor has a base speed of 145. Dragapult, definitely going to be seeing Dragapult. So he has a base speed of 142. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is, unless you're running some type of speed items or you're using some type of speed control moves, this Venusaur is going to be outspeeding you. So that can definitely be a scary thing. He's also got Sludge Bomb, and of course he's grass and poison, so he gets the stab for that. That's going to be super strong against the fairy Pokemon, and we see so many fairy Pokemon right now. And if he Dynamaxes, that gives him the ability to use Max Ooze, which is going to raise the special attack. When you couple that with his stab, that's going to be really, really beneficial for just teams in general. Let's talk about some of the counters real quick. Safeguard. Safeguard can stop sleep. Electric Terrain can stop sleep. You've got Lumberry. Lumberry is a popular way to stop status conditions. Oh, you got some good options. There's other ways to do it as well, but those are probably the most common ways to stop it. You've also got some other strategies that we can look at, so like stopping the sun. So depending on who he's using to set up the sun, you can try and stop him. So let's say it's Whimsicott for an example, and you see Whimsicott and Venusaur, you can technically fake out and then kill the Whimsicott before it's able to set up the sun, and that's going to save you. Now, he's still going to be able to go for sleep on that turn, but he's not going to have that super speed, so it's going to make it a little bit easier to deal with. Safeguard is another option. The only problem is if you're just depending on Safeguard and you let him set up the sun, then he's probably going to sleep your Safeguard Pokemon if he knows what he's doing. So same thing with Electric Terrain. You allow him to set up the sun, he's probably going to sleep and be able to do so before. But let's say we bring out something that has Fake Out and maybe Duraludon. You can Fake Out the Whimsicott, for an example. It's not able to set up sun, and then you can go for Max Lightning so that you can set up Electric Terrain, and that's going to prevent sleep. So that's one option. The only problem is Whimsicott's not the only way to set up sun. You've got Torkoal, who can set up the sun just by coming out, and you've got all sorts of Pokemon right now who have access to G-Max Flare one way or another that can also set up the sun. So if you try and fake out a Dynamax Pokemon, it's not going to work. They're still going to be able to set up the sun. If there's no option to fake out Torkoal because he's going to come out and set up the Sun. So what makes Venusaur really scary is that there's several ways for him to set up Sun, and that's going to make it really easy to find some safe ways to, this is how I want to set up Sun, but I also have plan B if that doesn't work out. And that's kind of what Venusaur, that's why Venusaur is scary. He can put you to sleep. There's several easy ways to set up Sun on most teams right now. Max Flare is definitely not a rarity. You can see it with Mystical Fire. There's all sorts of Pokemon who already have Fire, Fire Punch, Fire Fang, all sorts of stuff. So I guess the best counter, you can use Lum Berry. That gives you one more move where you don't have to worry about being put to sleep to take care of Venusaur. So that's an option. If you can, if you can Lum Berry if you can Lum Berry and try and take out Venusaur before he's an issue, that's one of your, that could be a pretty good strat. If you know he's running Whimsicott or someone else that's going to be setting up Sun with Sunny Day, you can always fake out the Sunsetter and then try and kill him that same turn. A lot of Sunsetters, some Sunsetters are pretty weak, especially the Prankster Sunsetters are going to be pretty weak, so that's an option you've got there. The biggest thing is I think you're just going to have to realize you're not going to be able to cover everybody's use of how they use Venusaur and how they set up Sun, and a lot of them are going to have one or two ways to set up Sun, and that's just going to be something you have to be prepared for. Alright, let's look at Blastoise. Phantom Blastoise, let's drink some water. So Blastoise has Rain Dish, nothing too scary. You've already seen it before with Ludicolo and Pelipper. It heals 1/16 health in the rain. The scary part about Blastoise is he's got Shell Smash, which is going to lower his, it lowers his defense and his special defense 1 stage, but it's going to raise his attack, special attack, and speed 2 stages. Make it even more scary for you. It's got great coverage, so he can learn, look at this, Steel, Ground, Rock, Fighting, Dragon, Dark, Water, Ice, and Psychic moves. So he just has excellent coverage. So no matter what the meta changes from one point to the next, it's likely he's got a move that he can learn to cover that meta. Let's add on to it. His base attack is 83 and his base special attack is 85. Now those aren't crazy strong, but when you start including Shell Smash, they do get strong, and what that really means is that he can learn either physical or special attack moves, because the difference between 83 and 85 is pretty minuscule. So he could definitely be mixed. He could be mixed physical and special attacks, and that can make it hard to try and say I'm going to stop Blastoise by having a great physical defense Pokemon out or a great special defense Pokemon out. That's how I'm going to do it. But some of the counters you could do, you can look at some Snarl, Intimidate users, depending on what what you've got available. The goal there isn't to completely neutralize. You're just not going to be able to do it. He's going to outpace you, but you can slow down some of his increases, his stat increases that way. You can taunt and kill. That's the idea, is that you're not going to let it Shell Smash this way, because he already has pretty low attack and special attack without Shell Smash. So just don't let him use Shell Smash, make him use attack moves. Prankster Encore is another option. That way, if you've got Prankster, you can't be outsped. It doesn't matter how many times he's used Shell Smash and that he's max speed. Your Prankster ability is going to go first. You're going to Encore it, so it's just using Shell Smash over and over again, so it's not hitting you with any attacks. On top of that, he's lowering his defense and his special defense each time that he uses it, so it makes it easier for you to kill him. And you could also look at moves like Haze, which would just neutralize the stats. I don't think that's one of the best strats, but that's definitely an option there. Incineroar, of course, everybody's been talking about Incineroar. He's the great stat dropper. #stat dropper. He's got Parting Shot, Snarl, and Intimidate. Parting Shot's what makes him really scary, because he's already got amazing bulk, but now you've got a Pokemon who can switch in and out, so he's going to be even harder to take down. So let's look at some ways to counter that. Of course, you could Shadow Tag Gothitelle if you really wanted to. That's going to take away the Parting Shot's ability to let him pivot, and that's what he really wants to do, but it's not going to stop him. I haven't tested this, but I'm pretty sure the stat drops are still going to happen from Parting Shot. He's just not going to be able to pivot, and if he can't pivot, he can't Intimidate, so it's not a horrible strat, but he can still use moves like Snarl and whatever else he has while he's on the field. I think like competitive Gothitelle and competitive Milotic is what we're more likely to see. So Melodic, sorry. Competitive Melodic is more likely what we're going to see. And if you don't know what competitive does, basically it lowers whatever stat is still lowered, but then it increases your stats. And you can become, like with Melodic, can become a pretty bulky but strong Pokemon that way. And same thing with Gothitelle. You can also look at Clear Body. Clear Body just kind of makes... Really, Clear Body makes Incineroar pretty useless against whoever has Clear Body, and the most likely Pokemon that have Clear Body is Dragapult right now. You can put Incineroar to sleep. One of the cool things about the way people are running Incineroar is he can have fire moves, but he could also have dark moves. He's not the fastest Pokemon, so pretty sure Venusaur outspeeds him. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Venusaur does outspeed him even without Chlorophyll, so you could definitely look into doing that. Most people are going to be trying to run a slower version because they'll want him to pivot. They'll want him to have his turn last, so he pivots. A late pivoter, basically. You can also look at Gmax moves that buff up the stats you need for your win condition. So if he's lowering your special attack and you need to raise your special attack, use Max Ooze to raise your special attack. Neutralize him and take him out while you're doing that. Of course, you can always just pray to the gods that he's not going to be there. Not going to go over Charizard with Solar Power because we've already kind of seen Charizard with Solar Power. I don't think it's anything people haven't seen yet. Of course, he hasn't been used competitively when we're talking about actual competitions, but we have seen him in the ladder. It has been allowed, and there's plenty of some rock move combos that have really just annihilated Charizard with Solar Power. So let's look at some of the Gmax moves that we're going to see. First one I want to talk about is Gmax Smite. That's a fairy type move that Hatterene can learn, and it's going to do a decent amount of damage, but it's also going to confuse your targets. I was running this the other day. I wish I need to go back. I'm pretty sure it didn't always confuse both Pokemon, but a good majority of the time it did, so don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if it always works, but the majority of the time it did confuse both Pokemon. Counters to Hatterene. Hatterene doesn't have the highest HP, so it can be pretty easy to take down, and it has super low speed. Takes 2 times damage from Poison, Ghost, and Dragon moves. So beside Poison, Dragon moves, Poison, Ghost, and Steel moves. And there's plenty of Ghost and Steel Pokemon who can take Hatterene down pretty quickly. The only scary thing is, again, you can use Lumberry to try it and prevent the confuse. That could definitely be like an option on maybe, Conkeldurr, or if it becomes too much of an issue, I'm saying, then you could use it on Conkeldurr, a Pokemon who naturally has high attack and is going to be hurting itself that much worse. Another one that we're going to see is Colossal's Gmax Bulkalith. Rock damage for 4 turns equal to 1/6 the Pokemon's HP. That's basically the exact same thing as Gmax Charizard, but we're talking about rock damage instead of fire damage now. What makes him really scary though is that we're coupling that with the possibility of Steam Engine, which is going to boost his speed max and weakness policy, and that's what we're seeing the most often is they're setting up their own weakness policy and steam engine with a move like Surf. Surf's gonna make it so you can't follow me, and it's gonna set up his steam engine. It's also gonna set up his weakness policy, and now you've got a very strong Pokemon who's also going to be incredibly fast, and now has the option to use Gmax Volcalith, which the one thing that you can think about is, since he hit himself with a move that he is super weak to, you don't have to worry about hitting him with a water attack anymore. So you can bring out a Pokemon with water moves and attack him that way. He's already taken some damage himself. You're probably not going to find an easy solution to kill him very fast, but you could definitely set up something. I haven't ran the stats, but you can probably find something like a water Pokemon that can outspeed him with maybe Choice Scarf, or with Tailwind or something. That's still gonna outspeed him even though he's got max speed, and then hopefully kill him on that turn. And what you have to do the calculations for is, how much damage is he probably going to take from that Surf, depending if they're surfing with Dragapult, Surf Raichu, Weevil, or whoever, and how much damage are you going to need to do to kill him after that, and then how fast does that Pokemon have to be to outspeed him and kill him. You may not be able to outspeed him. You may have to just worry about taking the one damage, the one turn of Gmax Volcalith and then killing him the next turn. But that's some of the options. You can also look at some Pokemon who aren't going to take damage. Tyranitar, great example, isn't going to take any damage from that from the aftermath of Volcalith. He's going to take that initial damage, but he won't take the damage after the residual damage afterwards. So that's another option that you can always use. Lapras. So nervous about Lapras. So Gmax Resonance is going to set up Auroraville, which is going to reduce the damage by 50% in singles and 33% in doubles. So there's definitely some ways to take care of this. You've got Defog, which is going to take down any type of barrier moves. It also takes down Safeguard, by the way. Just bringing that up because some Venusaur teams might find use in that. You also have sorry, let's get some more water. Coming back from a cold, so my throat's going in and out. You also have Screen Cleaner, Mr. Mime / Mr. Rhyme. I haven't done the calcs, but I did see some. I saw a thread on Reddit about using like an Eviolite Mr. Mime to take down Lapras. Idea is that it'll be somewhat more bulky with an Eviolite, and it's got Screen Cleaner, so it just takes away that Auroraville. And then you can kind of use it for some of the other moves that it has to help out your team, depending what you need your team to do. I think it has Light Screen and Reflect, for example, so you could run those. It's got a lot of moves that you can use to benefit your team outside of Screen Cleaner, which can help against Lapras and other screen setups. The only issue I have with that idea is, are you bringing Mr. Rhyme just for Lapras? Because you're not going to see Lapras all the time, so Lapras is that prevalent that you feel like you need to bring Mr. Mime or Mr. Rhyme. Go for it. Just try and find a way that he works with your team as well. Because if you're just setting him up for Screen Cleaner and he's not doing all the work for the rest of your team, or for most of your team, then it's just not going to be beneficial for your team. You've also got Brick Break. You're going to see a lot of Brick Break. That's going to destroy any barriers. A lot of Pokemon can learn Brick Break, not even just fighting Pokemon, so you'll see that some. Infiltrator is going to ignore barriers. That's another one that Dragapult can learn. that's one way so that you can ignore the barrier altogether. You're not taking it down, but that Pokemon will be able to do regular damage. One other option is court change. That's gonna flip the field basically, so you get the Roarville and Lapras loses it. Probably not one of the best options, because the only Pokemon who gets court change is also happens to be weak to water. So yeah, you've got a Roarville, but now you're taking extra damage to you're also now taking extra damage from Lapras. So, you know, kind of a double-edged sword there. And other than Gmax Resonance, when is that court change really going to benefit your team? I don't think it's one of the best options. I can definitely see Screen Cleaner, Mr. Mime or Rhyme coming into play. I definitely think there are some ways to make him work with other teams other than just keeping him there for Screen Cleaner. Defog and Brick Break I can see working with a lot of teams if they find a way to put that on one of their Pokemon without taking away whatever synergizes their whole team. So, you know, real quickly, end of the video. I'm not saying that this is all of the ways to counter and all of the ways to use these Pokemon. So go ahead, tell me in the comments how you're going to use some of these Pokemon and their Dynamax moves, and what are some of your methods to counter these Pokemon and all their cool moves. Until next time, Air Squad, take it easy.